from him, certified copies of declaration of income, assets and liabilities, that is the forms for years 2012 to 2022, including the initial and final declarations. And of course, we understand that EACC is at the moment profiling one Fred Matiang'i to understand what he owns, and also looking at information they say they have received to the indication that things may have changed in a manner that is unexplainable. To another conversation, last week we heard from the Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Alfred Mutua, who wrote to Nairobi missions saying that from now on they can engage ministries directly in issues that are touching on them. But if there are issues that are touching on different ministries, they may now need the coordination of the Office of the Deputy President. Richard Onyonka, you once worked at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs as an assistant minister. The mandate of the ministry is well spelled out, even in the Executive Order number 1 of 2023. What is this, and what will this amount to?
When I saw that statement, Sam, I was completely shocked. Why am I shocked? Because the structure of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is very deliberate. Because we have adopted previously we were with the Westminster system, then we came to the presidential system that we have. But essentially, in terms of structure, actually, in other jurisdictions, the position of the foreign minister is considered to be the number 2 person after either the prime minister or the president. Now, the truth is, number 2, the people who engage bilaterally, that's when you have one country's people meeting the other country's people. That exercise is conducted with purpose, and it's conducted with a certain agenda. For example, purpose, you'll find that our foreign minister has been sent to India, and he is going to meet the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. You can imagine if our minister arrived in India and he went to go and meet the Deputy President of India, that meeting will be called a low-key bilateral arrangement between a Kenyan minister and a Deputy President. Mm-hmm. But when a minister comes from a country, let's say from assume a minister comes from Portugal and he arrives in Nairobi, normal protocol requirements and normal diplomatic protocol requirements or engagements are based that that minister will come, he will first see his other minister of equivalent level. Yes. If that minister comes and the substantive minister is not there, sometimes the minister himself writes a power of attorney, which that minister must see, because it's a requirement that this individual must be qualified and must be handling that position to the equivalency of the ministry. Right. If the minister meets him, if you find, for example, the Portuguese Minister for Foreign Affairs lands in Nairobi, he meets the Kenyan minister, the next thing you intend to see is that this minister now, our minister who is supposed to be Mutua, will now take this minister of Portugal to State House. He never takes him to the Deputy President's office. So whoever that is redesigning the structure of our administration, and I saw the wonderful Ambassador Monica Juma is in the office of the President and advising. I don't know whether she's been ignored, or I don't know whether somebody did not talk to her. It is unacceptable diplomatically, because you change so many things. The people who are coming, if a senior minister for finance from Japan comes, for example, all right, he can't come and see the Deputy President, then go and see the President. Mm-hmm. In diplomacy, you dilute the effectiveness of that engagement. He only comes, lands in Nairobi, he'll be picked by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Ministry of Foreign Affairs hands him over to the President. Okay. Yes.
Honorable Chair, when you look at the statement issued by Dr. Alfred Mutua last week, and he's talking about he's observed a lot of lost opportunities and wants to facilitate efficiency by removing the necessary bureaucracy. The Minister of Foreign Affairs is a person who sits in the National Security Council, meaning they have important information to really offer the Council. But when now some of his duties are being done by the ministries, how then do you coordinate that, even if you're saying that the Deputy President will be taking charge of cross-cutting issues?
I must say that this is ill-advised from the word go, because I don't think it's well thought through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is like a country in itself. I mean, it's the only gateway to the country. And that's why you only have one chief of protocol for the whole country. So are you telling us we're going to have Ministry of Foreign Affairs having its chief of protocol, Ministry of Trade the same, Defense the same, everyone having their own protocol way of doing things? It is just ill-advised, and I'm sure that we're going to call for this letter before Parliament. The minister will have to explain to us whether we have changed how we relate to the rest of the world and the manner in which you're going to be doing this. Because you can imagine the confusion. Just to use this example. So therefore, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is landing in India to meet the Prime Minister. Our Minister for Trade is also landing in India the same day to meet the President of that country. It just doesn't work like that. And then you can note, you know, we have something called the executive order that tells us which ministry deals with what. If you went to that document, it'll tell you what the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is supposed to do. The roles that are now saying supposed to go to the Deputy President's office are not the roles of the Deputy President's office.
Exactly.
It just can't work like that. And so I think at the right time, we're going to advise and guide that the right thing be done. But I need to say this also, that this kind of reassigning can only happen
from the President's office
and can only be done by the President.
Yeah.
Reassigning of roles of ministries or how ministers run can only be done by the presidency. And we've seen him doing this once in a while, and even the former regime. If we've just been discussing the Honorable Matiang'i, remember this time he was assigned roles that were naturally not interior ministries roles. And these were done through an executive order. We've seen how the current president has organized his government. And so I would take this as a pinch of salt.
Okay, and I'm looking at the Executive Order number 1 of 2023 that revised the assignment of roles to different offices. This was by the President. The mandate of the Office of the Deputy President is, in execution of the President's functions, is to deputize the President first, to chair cabinet committees, oversee implementation of cabinet decisions across all ministries and state departments, coordinate intergovernmental relations between the national government and county government, including chairing IBEC, liaison with constitutional commissions and independent offices, coordinate the planning and supervise the implementation of development patterns, or rather, development partners funded programs and projects, oversee public sector reforms, and any other function as may be assigned by the President. Now, this would appear any other function assigned by a cabinet secretary. Wandeto, what are you thinking, and where do we go from here? Because really, the executive order does not cover the deputy president coordinating interministerial affairs with foreign missions.
Okay. I think my reading of this Sam was that what the minister, because this looks like it was initiated from Ministry of Foreign Affairs by Dr. Mutua. And I think what he said is that embassies are now free to engage directly with government agencies. However, there's a rider, which we should not miss, that they must keep the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in copy. So I think what we have done here is to create or to safeguard the fears that my brother here, Senator Richard, had there, that, of course, embassies would now, there will be maybe chaos in terms of diplomatic, policy or foreign policy and things like that. And I think here what we are talking about here would be routine matters. Embassies every day have to go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs so that maybe it can help them secure a meeting with, say, Ministry of Education. And all we are saying is that if you want to discuss some education matters, maybe between the UK government and the Kenyan government, you can just alert the Ministry of Foreign Affairs that we need to do this, and it's up to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to look. And if they feel that the matter maybe is outside what may be seen as routine matters, or this could be a matter that may, alter the foreign policy of the country against maybe, that other country, of course they have a right to interject. The other thing that was also mentioned is that if it is something that involves multiple ministries, let's then coordinate. And you have rightly said that under Executive Order number 1, the President sort of coordinates, these cabinet issues. So again, I do not see whether there is any contradiction as far as this is concerned. However, for me, maybe there is more additional information that needs to be provided. For example, if today, like now, the situations we have globally, say with the Russia-Ukraine war, and both of them have, embassies here. how we handle such a situation is very, very sensitive from a foreign policy point of view. So maybe we need to go further with this letter and say what are seen as routine matters of engagement and what are seen as matters that maybe may affect, foreign policy or the stand of the country, in certain things. So there needs to be, some additional information just to ensure that we do not get ourselves into, a
So you don't see any problem in that?
I personally see it as just trying to get efficiency. But again, like I said, maybe we need to bring
Who are the
more
experts
clarity.
in matters foreign affairs, foreign relations?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Who are the experts in matters foreign relations?
I think it's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and that's what we are saying. Get a copy to them, and they can even maybe, if they get a letter saying, like I've given an example, say the ministry, the Embassy of Japan wants to engage the Ministry of Energy. If they get such a letter, they can maybe advise the Ministry of Energy, or they can say the matter here looks like it's not a routine matter. Maybe this meeting should not happen. I think they have a right to object, and that's why they're getting a copy.
Wow.
Sami, can I say something small?
I think Sam,
just after Fred.
Listening to Andeto, he finds faults in this new way of operating at the MFA. But he's justifying it because he's in a position that he cannot fail to justify it, just being in UDA. So, that's wrong. But let's be honest. What is happening, whether that statement came from Dr. Alfred Mutua, the CS Foreign Affairs, whether it came from whoever else, the truth of the matter is Kenya Kwanza government are now, what they are doing, they are weakening MDS. They're weakening the ministries, they're weakening the departments and the agencies. When you are copied, because they are citing issues of efficiency, when you are copied, whether it is whatever, it is just for your information. You are not the principal recipient of that information. So that means they are actually weakening. Number two, what they have just done, in plain truth, they have made Minister of Foreign Affairs a department in the office of the Deputy President.
Yes.
That is what they have done. And we must reject such instructions. The members of Parliament must look at this issue and condemn it and call it out and allow the ministry to rectify it. Because we cannot operate in an environment where there's no order. That is what I would say in plain.
Okay, very interesting.
I think I would like to respond to that.
After Senator, because we need to close.
Thank you. The small point I wanted to say is that, and I say this with due respect, I just think if Mutua is the one who wrote that letter, he's just being lazy. Because when you're a Minister of Foreign Affairs, you travel a lot. Look at what has happened for the last 6 months that Kenya Kwanza has been in power. Have you ever seen a single picture where the President of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable William Ruto, is standing next to Mutua and a foreign dignitary? None.
There are.
If they are, they are.
Oh, there are.
If there are, maybe two.
No, there are so many.
What I'm saying, let me say this. Let me finish my argument. What I'm saying is this. There is a certain way that diplomatic engagements are, 1, designed, 2, choreographed, and 3, implemented. If you change the structure using the Kenyan example where everything is going to be taken over from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to the Vice President's office or the Deputy President's office, you completely emasculate. In fact, the officers in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will be receiving instructions from who? From the officers in the Deputy President's office. Because that's who they are going to be answerable to. And yet all ministries globally, ministries of foreign affairs, are answerable to the president directly and effectively. In fact, most of the times, the Minister for Foreign Affairs is always being sent on behalf of the president, and he cannot delegate that responsibility once he has been sent out.
I think Senator Onyoka is forgetting that the deputy president is part of the presidency. So he has actually just answered himself. That it is coordinated from the presidency. The deputy president is part of the president. But just to mention...
Honorable Andeto, I'm sure you know there's a reason why there's a cabinet secretary for foreign affairs.
Absolutely.
Right? I just want to answer that because also, Fred said that now the Ministry of Foreign Affairs will become a department under the office of the deputy president. And I disagree. Because remember, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs deals with both sides of the coin. We have our ambassadors and high commissioners out there whom it coordinates what they are doing. Then we have, of course, the ambassadors and high commissioners who are in country from other countries, whom again it also coordinates. And this is the bit we are just trying to say. Let us try to improve efficiency.
Okay.
Let us try to ensure that there's a smoother flow. But Sam, I gave the rider that it is very important. It is very, very important that there is clarity on what functions can and what functions cannot.
I hear you. The executive
we know
order,
the sensitivity of foreign
executive order number 1 of 2023 says that the duties and the mandate of the Foreign Affairs Ministry is first liaising and coordinating with all trade bodies and UN agencies, promotion of Nairobi as a hub of multilateral diplomacy, many other things like lobbying for Kenya candidature in the international governance system, management of bilateral and multilateral relations, and so many others. But also now the letter of one Alfred Mutua is talking about, let me just get that right, that whereas the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations entrusts all official business with the receiving state to be conducted through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it has been agreed in the interest of efficiency that the missions may communicate directly with ministries, departments, and agencies of the government of Kenya without going through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs. So that's what is in contention here. So much feedback has come through. Let's take a look at a bit of that via Citizen TV Kenya at Sam Gituku. The hashtag to use is Daybreak. Bob Otieno, you're saying that current government is looking for some crucial information from former Interior CS Matiang'i, and to end this saga, he should be bold enough to face the authorities and clear out the air because Kenyans are watching. Babu Michael, what this regime is doing for Matiang'i is simply putting him to the court of public opinion, which is usually not fair, and that is what the previous regime they claim to have done. Can they do something different about such issues? Godi Baraza, as a country, we should stick to the tenets and dictates of the rule of law. If the former CS Fred Matiang'i broke any law, let him be subjected to permissible legal scrutiny, not unhelpful theatrics, threats, and intimidation. Alex Mayore, nowhere in our constitution has given the role of bringing to justice those that looted. Let the institutions mandated for that role, EACC, DCI, DPP, carry out that role. Even the DP himself, when he was accused, it was institutions that handled his case, not politicians. Okello Mwalimu, this administration should desist from witch-hunting previous regimes, state officers, and prioritize service delivery. Vengeance is the last word we would like to hear at a time we are faced with food insecurity and cattle rustling. They should be reminded that power is transient. And that's the feedback this morning. Now, up next is there in your view who champions for Manchester United?
I'm heartbroken, I tell you. 7-0, man.
Me, I'm Arsenal. We've lost until I don't remember. Even